I'm going to turn it over to Ted. He is the Great Lakes Advisor at the Great Lakes Office for the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks. And he's going to give us an overview of the Lake Huron Lakewide Action and Management Plan.
Great. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to give this brief presentation tonight. And just to say, I certainly know a few of you on the call here. I saw Keith. Keith used to work closely with Keith a number of years back, and more recently now with Julie and Aisha and others. And I think that's kind of an important piece that when we try to talk about the relationship between the Lake Huron Lakewide Action and Management Plan, or the LAMP, and working with the science that comes from groups and the citizen science that feeds into the Severn Sound Environmental Association and then feeds its way up into the system, and is very helpful for the agencies as we identify out on some of the issues and some of the actions that are going on within the LAMP itself. So I'm going to talk, I'm just going to give a real quick overview and high level. I know some of you are probably familiar with the LAMP, as I said, the LAMP process, and maybe some of you are not. So I'll just give a little overview of the process and then some of the details behind the LAMP. And I'm going to be talking about the more in general, the 2017-21 LAMP document for the lake. And when I say Lake Huron, I mean Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So it's not just Lake Huron itself, but just to make life easier, I'll just be referring to it as a Lake Huron LAMP. And it's identified in the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement that was signed in 2012 under the Lakewide management. And there's a number of different annexes in the agreement itself, and you can see them listed there. And I'm sure a number of them are of interest to the SSEA, around nutrients, and everybody's interested in climate change impacts, different things like that. But the one we're going to focus on tonight is a Lakewide management. So you can just jump ahead to the next slide. So what is the Lakewide management? It's a science-based process that provides answers to three key questions. And you can read them there, but I'll read them for you. How is the lake doing? What is stressing the lake, and what additional actions are necessary? And so those, I don't know if you've looked at the current LAMP document for Lake Huron, but those are the things, there's 5 key stressors that I'll be identifying in a couple of slides. And we try to identify what actions need to be taken. And so these are pieces that are done from the higher level Lake Huron partnership. So that's a binational partnership, which is led by Environment and Climate Change Canada and the US EPA, but there's a number of different groups. And I know I'm going to jump ahead because I have a slide that identifies a lot of those. So maybe if you just wanted to jump ahead on that one. And you can see all the different partners that are involved. And unfortunately, I have some older logos. You can see we're still identified as the MECC. We go through a number of changes in the province. So as many of you may now know, we're the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And that change took place a year or two ago. And but you can see there's a number of different agencies, both US and Canadian. And we have some tribes, mainly on the US side. We've been working to try to get the, the Indigenous communities involved on the Canadian side, but that's been a bit of a slow process, unfortunately. So we don't have a lot of direct input into the LAMP and into the Lake Huron partnership, but we have been working with a number of these communities individually and providing input. So let me just jump ahead. So the process itself, as I've mentioned, is the LAMP documents are created every 5 years. So this is the current one that ends obviously this year. So as a partnership, and you saw the partners that are identified in the previous slide, we're starting to update the current LAMP document, identify the health of the lake itself, and what are some of the key activities that need to be done. And that the more updated, or I guess it'll be the 2022 LAMP, should be coming out early in 2022. So we're working on that right now. But you can see it's kind of a circular process. You assess the status and trends, you identify what are the threats to the water quality. We try to develop strategies. Now we have identified binational strategies because we're from both sides of the lake. You're looking at the same issues, but on each side there may be some different strategies and actions that are required. For science purposes, there is we call it the Cooperative Science and Monitoring Initiative that's done on a binational basis, and that as well will be taking place for Lake Huron in 2022. And so a number of agencies will identify what are some of the key science pieces, the monitoring that needs to be done. So is it around, nearshore water quality? Is it around nutrients? Is it around contaminants in the water? And certain agencies will set out monitoring activities that they want to get done during the cooperative science and monitoring year. Now, unfortunately, there's a little bit of an imbalance on that binationally, because in the US, as some of you may or may not know, there's the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, and that was started during the well, I guess it came in probably just before the Obama government, but it's been underway for a number of years, and it's I think the current total for the Great Lakes from the US is about $325 million annually towards Great Lakes activities. So a lot of that money, or not a lot of that money, but some of that money can be targeted towards some of the US agencies to undertake monitoring activities. On the Canadian side, we unfortunately don't have that amount of funding to do some of our work. So it's more what the agencies are targeting to do in that current year. So anyways, based on the circular process, we undertake the science, and then as you see at the bottom, and then as we move forward and undertake activities, we try to track, or we do track, not try to track, we track the activities that are taken and what impacts they are having on the lake itself. And so we try to share scientific findings. And I think this is where it comes into play with local groups such as the SSEA, is that information that can be collected can be used to show whether we're, some of the restoration targets that are being maybe set locally are being achieved. And then if they're locally being achieved, it can help us to achieve the larger targets for the lake itself. And then we go back to this, we assess once again. So if you want to move to the next slide. So again, we try to look at, when we're writing up the LAMP document, there's a number of different pieces, reports, data, information that we gather in to help write up the LAMP and to assess, the status of the lake itself. And these are just a few of the documents that have been looked at in the past. A lot of them are agency focused reports. But again, as I said, because we work closely with groups such as Severn Sound Association, with a number of different, local conservation authorities, even municipalities that may have some information, as local agencies on the Canadian side, such as Environment Canada or ourselves or MNRF, we can bring that information forward and help to put it or identify it within the LAMP document itself. So if you just want to jump ahead to the next slide. So some of the content in the lake, and I think I've gone over a lot of that, state of the lake and actions. And in the last LAMP, there were 43 different actions that were identified, and that's on both sides of the lake. So both on the Canadian side and on the US side. A lot of these, it's the agencies themselves that are identifying actions that they want to undertake, because it's hard to, say such as the Severn Sound itself is doing a certain action, because as agencies, you can't necessarily hold a smaller organization to ensure that is completed. So generally in the LAMP, it's more of the higher level actions that are identified from an agency perspective, but certainly certain things that are done by more local or the smaller organizations can be brought forward and looked at under an agency kind of lens and identified in the LAMP as well. So I'm just trying to show that even though if you looked at the LAMP, you might go, it's very high level, it's very agency focused, the agencies are trying to pull in some of the local activities that are being done on the lake itself. So just want to jump ahead there. So overall, the lake itself, it's looked at under a number of different factors, but Lake Huron has been identified as overall in fair condition, and which is, the rankings from good to poor. So fair is good, and you can see some of the reasons it was identified that way. This was based on the current LAMP we have. Chemical pollutants we're in pretty good shape, even though we have some areas where we still have contaminants. I think in general we've seen an improvement over the last number of years. Nearshore waters are of fairly high quality, and there is a nearshore assessment process that's being undertaken that's being led by Environment and Climate Change Canada. And they're just now moving into the Lake Huron, Georgian Bay area. So there will be some further nearshore assessment being done by them over the next year or so. Nutrients, I know nutrients has been a piece that's been studied for a long time in Severn Sound, so that's something that is currently an issue and something that we look at in the lake, overall in the lake, but we've seen a decline in nutrients. Actually, we've seen such a decline in the main basin of Lake Huron that it's been identified as almost, in some instances, ultra oligotrophic. So we're seeing, you know, sometimes we can have higher nearshore nutrient levels, and as you get further offshore, you're seeing a real decline in nutrient levels themselves. And then the fish populations have been recovering very nicely. So if you just want to move ahead to the next slide. So some of the threats, and you know, these are some very specific ones, and I'm not going to go through all of them. I mean, climate change impacts is obviously a big one. There's always been fish consumption advisories on the lake, and that's due to the historic contaminants that have been in the lake. And as I've mentioned, you know, fish populations are beginning to recover. We are seeing declines in certain contaminants such as mercury and PCBs, but they still are out there. And then we have the new and emerging issues such as microplastics and a variety of other, and you know, invasive species. So we're seeing those move up along the coast more and more, and obviously coming into Georgian Bay as well. So yeah, just jump ahead there. So these are the 5 threats that were identified in the LAMP, and I've kind of alluded to them as I've been talking here. So the 5 main ones: chemical contaminants, nutrient, bacterial pollution, invasive species, loss of habitat, native species, and climate change impacts. So those have, in our LAMP document, those are the 5 threats that we focused our energies on in the LAMP. And as I mentioned before, we have upwards of over 40 actions that are identified by 20 different agencies in the document. And just jump ahead there. And this is just an example of from the nutrient and bacterial pollution actions. There's in the current LAMP document, there are 11 actions identified, and it could be something, and the one I'll talk about is one I'm kind of I'm involved with, is Healthy Lake Huron, and it's along the southeast shore of the main basin itself. So really from Sarnia to Tobermory, and then we're working with a lot of the local conservation authorities and different smaller organizations on work to try to reduce nutrients coming off the you know, the rural properties, municipalities, and which have been shown to be impacting the nearshore itself. So there's that would be one of the actions that are identified within the LAMP itself. And then as you move forward, as we, you know, as I've mentioned, we try to collect, we do monitoring as part of those activities, and ensure that the work that we're doing, we're making a difference to the environment overall. So just want to jump ahead there. And I've talked about the science priorities, so I'm not really going to go, as I've just said, there's a Cooperative Science and Monitoring Initiative. It's our Lake Huron year coming up in 2022. So a lot of the agencies have identified some key monitoring activities they want to do, and it's based around some of those 3 main priorities that I've already talked about: nutrient, contaminants, and food web linkages. I'll just jump ahead there. And then some other information that you'd find in the LAMP is, you know, it talks about, it gives you some background on the lake itself. I think one of the key points, especially for groups such as the Severn Sound Association, is, you know, what are activities that everyone can take? Because not only is it important that the agencies and some of the bigger organizations are doing work on the lake, but even individuals, you know, can make a difference by some of the actions that they do to help improve the quality of the lake. So I just want to jump ahead there. I know I'm probably getting close to being over my time. And I've talked about this again. So based on the actions, it's what the agencies have committed to do. And then we identify funding to try to complete some of those actions. And then just jump ahead again. And then we try to track the progress. So that's a big piece. Under the partnership is we will, you know, the groups that are involved in the partnership, is we track the work that we identified we were going to do under the LAMP, and we will assess the work and see what has been completed and whether it has made a difference over time. So when our updated LAMP, we'll be able to talk about some of the past work and whether it has made a difference. So I think I'm on the last slide here. Just one more. And then reporting, and I'm sure some of you may be familiar, every year annual reports get put out on each of the lakes through the different partnerships. So under those annual reports, there are some updates on some of the different activities and actions that occur around the basin itself. So that's just a part of a LAMP update that comes out annually. So that's the last slide, and I'm sorry I probably moved through that fairly quickly, but I didn't want to take up a lot of time. I hope I was able to give you a little bit of background on what the LAMP is, and maybe see how the Severn Sound Environmental Association and some of the activities that you know, the citizens are doing can help to fit in with some of the work that is being done under that initiative. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have one quick question. Just some of the different monitoring activities that are undertaken through the CSMI year.
Yeah.
That coordinated science monitoring year. What types of things are they focusing on?
So they would do things such as you know, benthic transacts, and you know, and on our ministry itself, we have some sentinel sites along the lake itself, where we collect different types of information. It's only done on a rotation of every 4 or 5 years. So we would you know, go to those sites and collect some water quality data and provide that information in. So it's you know, but we try to focus, as I've showed, there was some key issues. You know, looking in contaminants, looking at different things that some of the agencies try to focus their work on. So, yeah.
Question, Ted. The Environment Canada monitoring in the open waters and the sensing sites from the ministry, the province.
Yeah.
Are they synchronized at all? You said next year Environment Canada will be doing their open water program?
No, that will be, that's our ministry will be doing it. We have our sentinel sites along the lake, you know, a number of different sites within the Georgian Bay and along the main basin itself. So we'll be collecting that information. But we do try to organize, as I said, we're going through the CSMI process right now. And so we've been meeting on a fairly regular basis between a number of agencies, both US and Canada. And then on the Canadian side, we try to focus, so we work with the Environment Canada colleagues, see what they're doing. And then we do try to, where possible, kind of match up sites. So we're getting a number of different parameters and points of information from specific sites around the basin. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question you were asking.
So is it next year that the
2022
program? 2022?
2022.
Okay, thanks.
So if no one else has any other questions, I just want to say thank you, Ted, for coming and giving us that great talk on the Lake Huron Lakewide Action Plan. And maybe we can have you back for another talk another time.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you very much for having me.